we in a sense overinterpret a few lines in the inaugural address. You know, pay any price, bear any burden, oppose any foe. And if you read the rest of the address, and if you read his speech, which is also featured, by the way, in the book, his speech in Seattle in, I think, November of '61, you see somebody who, even in a very dark time in the Cold War, speaks of the need to negotiate, for example, not just with allies, but with adversaries. A sense that we do live on this shared planet in a kind of realistic sense. As he says in that Seattle speech, you know, we're 6% of the world's population. We can't tell the other 94% what to do. There isn't an American solution to every world problem. And this you see from an early point in this administration. There's a quote, if I may, in your essay, Samantha, which I think is powerful. And if you want to respond to it, you can. Or I want to pose a question to Ron. But you say, yet what rings true today from Kennedy's speech, this is at Berkeley in '62, I believe, yes. What rings true today from Kennedy's speech and the broader foreign policy doctrine he sets out is arguably its most simple premise, that regardless of where people come from, human beings across the world yearn for and are entitled to the same rights and freedoms. And I think, again, if you buy the book, as I hope you will, if you haven't already, and if you read that speech and then Samantha's essay, it's really powerful.
Well, I think the resounding theme of this book, which I really urge you all to get, both because it's a collector's item and because it has all these amazing speeches in it, many of which I actually did not know and feel like I should have known now having read them. But I think the theme of idealism without illusions is the one that you all picked up on in your introductory essays. And that's his approach to foreign policy, right? It's, yes, just as that quote suggests, there's a universal aspiration for freedom, a universal aspiration for dignity. We can programmatically aspire to deliver on that through the Alliance for Progress, the Peace Corps, massive infusions of development assistance and investment in diplomacy. But we also have to recognize that there are threats, very real threats out there. And, you know, in many of his speeches that aspire toward what he calls a pragmatic peace, he talks about the need to seek a relaxation of tensions without relaxing our guard. So it's defense and diplomacy. It's never negotiate in fear, but never fear to negotiate. And my favorite Kennedy line of all time is, you know, he basically says, you know, we can't expect, in the cause of peace, and he's, you know, lived a war. That's a major difference, right, with a lot of our current political leaders. He's lived a war. He knows the cost of war. He knows the importance of peace. But we don't have to invest in the idea that we're just going to all of a sudden love our neighbor, he says. He says what we're looking for is not a revolution in human nature, but an evolution in human institutions. Not revolution, but evolution, and not human nature, which he recognizes will never change. So again, no illusions. And then institutions like the UN, he saw the flaws. He saw the way countries comprised these institutions and pursued their self-interest, but there was no workaround. You still had to forge global cooperation because we were so linked and interdependent.